What's up, you guys? It's Greg. Let's talk about the upcoming Airbnb IPO. If you don't know, Airbnb is planning to release their IPO on December 10th. They originally had a price target of between $44 and $50, which would basically put the valuation of the company at $35 billion. Since that number was released, they're looking at probably $56 to $60 a share, which would put the valuation of the company right around $40 billion. So I'm going to be breaking out a lot of the information. This is going to be kind of a more just information dense video. I'm going to be pulling a lot of information from the S1, which is what Airbnb submits to the SEC when they're going to apply for IPO status to be listed on the NASDAQ. So I'm going to be showing you a lot of information directly from that, not necessarily from other news articles, just because I feel like that's a people's opinion and I want to know what the company thinks. I'm going to be going over the risk factors that they feel like they have as a company, as well as some of their financials, including before the pandemic, as well as after the pandemic. It's going to be broken down into monthly, as well as their yearly financials. I think those are very important to look at. So if that sounds cool, it'd be really, really nice if you'd hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm. That would really help me out. It doesn't cost you anything, it's free, and hopefully this information is able to potentially make you or save you some money. So let's get right into it. And just in case you want to skip around, don't necessarily want to listen to me talk about every single topic, I'm going to go ahead and put the description thing in the box down below so you can actually scrub the video and then skip to the section that you want so you can get the most relevant information to you. So I'm very intrigued to see the risk factors that Airbnb themselves has laid out how they feel where they're vulnerable. So let's go ahead and look at this. This is from, again, this is from the S1 that they filed with the SEC. So we've incurred net losses each year since inception and we might not be able to achieve profitability. We incurred net losses of $70 million, 16.9 million, and 674.3 million, and 696.9 million for this year's end December 31, 2017, 2018, and 2019, and 9 months ended September 30th, 2020, respectively. Our accumulated deficit was 1.4 billion and 2.1 billion as of December 31st, 2019, and September 30th, 2020, respectively. Obviously, we know that the pandemic has really hurt the travel industry. You've been watching the airlines, you've been watching, hotels and everything like that. Obviously, Airbnb is no exception. We all knew they were going to suffer losses this year. I was not aware that they were operating at a loss prior to this year. That is very interesting to hear, but we're going to go ahead and keep getting into that. Also at the top there where it says the laws and regulations, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but basically as laws continue to come out and lockdowns happen, obviously that's affecting the ability for people to rent out their house, also the ability for people to rent the houses, and therefore impacting Airbnb's ability to make a cut off of that. Then down at the bottom we may have an exposure to great anticipated tax liabilities in September 2020, received a draft notice of proposed adjustment from the IRS and for the 2013 tax year, proposing an increase to our U.S. taxable income that could result in an additional income tax expense and cash tax liability of 1.35 billion plus penalties and interest, which exceeds our current reserve recorded in our consolidated financial statement by more than 1 billion. It'll be interesting to see where that goes. Obviously, like it was saying, is for the year 2013. I don't know exactly where it's going to go. I'm not a tax attorney. Also, keep in mind when I'm doing this, I'm not a financial planner. I'm not able to give you financial advice. I'm just a guy on YouTube giving my opinion. And this is research that I'm doing for myself in my own trading strategy. I just happen to be documenting it on YouTube and you just happen to be watching it. Also, if you want to go ahead and check out the S1 where I'm actually pulling this information from, I'll go ahead and link that down in the description so you don't have to go on Google and try to find it. But yeah, in the description. So here we can go ahead and take a look year over year on their monthly change. At 2019, you can see the business is growing. They're doing 30%, 35%. And then here you have in March when the lockdown started happening at 42%, negative 42%, negative 72%. You can kind of see here between March and September, obviously they're operating a loss. What we looked at the risk factors where they're really not probably bringing in enough cash, which will, again, like I said, we'll continue to look at their financial statements from here. Kind of what this is telling me so far is that this potentially could just be a way to raise capital. Obviously, like we talked about with the airlines and the travel industry, like they're hurting. Like, let's be honest about it. Airbnb is hurting because they're a part of the travel industry and they are affected by the lockdowns. So here we have their monthly gross booking value, and I'm probably not going to talk about this that much. I'm just going to go ahead and throw this up on the screen. So if you want, you can pause it and read through yourself. So now we have a summary of their financial data. Again, this is from the S1 that Airbnb submitted to the SEC. So we have up top, we have the revenue. They kind of peaked in 2019 here, as it looks like. Obviously we expect 2020 to be a down year regardless. But then again, just remember that they're operating at a loss since their inception. So right down here we have the net loss of anywhere from as little as $16,000 to almost $700,000, which obviously we expect 2020 to be a down year for them. But then to me, that's signaling that, hey, this might just be a cash grab. So we gotta raise some capital. We gotta stay afloat. But keep in mind that Airbnb is spending a lot on marketing, sales and marketing. In 2019, when they did 4.8 million in revenue, they spent 1.6 million in marketing. And obviously in 2020 here we have just over 500,000 in marketing, but they still did 2.5 million in sales, which is pretty good considering that they cut their marketing budget, by like 60%. But again, they're still operating at a loss. Obviously, I'm just showing you this information. This is something for you to decide yourself whether you want to add this to your portfolio. And I'm going to go ahead and throw up just the consolidated balance sheet data. I'm not going to talk about it. If you want to pause, you can go ahead and pause it and read through it. I just want to provide you the information. So if you want to continue to go on that, you can. Now we're going to talk about Airbnb's competitors. Down here they have, things like Hotel.com and HomeAway and Travelocity, and things like that, which I don't know if I would necessarily consider them to be competitors, or at least in my own mind. Obviously, whoever put this together from Airbnb believes that they are competitors. Definitely like VRBO and some of these Chinese short-term stay things. Then down here we have our competitors are adopting aspects of the business model which could affect our ability to differentiate our offerings from competitors. Increased competition could result in reduced demand for our platform from hosts and guests, slow our growth, and materially adversely affect our business results of operation and financial condition. And I think kind of where like Airbnb's little gold nugget lies and the fact that they are working on becoming a household name. When it comes to, hey, I'm going to rent out my house, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to travel. If you don't want to stay in a hotel, you'll be like, oh, I'm going to Airbnb. Even if you don't necessarily use Airbnb, you're going to rent a room or rent a house from a private individual, not just like a hotel or a motel. They'll be like, oh, I'm going to Airbnb. So they're almost becoming like Google in terms of like, oh, I'm just going to Google it. You might not necessarily use Google. You might use Microsoft Edge or Bing or DuckDuckGo, or something like that. But you're like, oh, I'm just going to Google it. I'm just going to Airbnb it. And I think that's really what differentiates Airbnbs, because they're becoming like a household name in the travel industry space. If you want to jump into the Airbnb IPO and you don't have a brokerage account with Robinhood, you can click the link down below and they'll give you 1 free stock. You don't have to deposit any money. You just have to link your bank account. When I did mine, they gave me Groupon, which was pretty cool. So hopefully you like this type of straight fact content. This isn't from a news source. This isn't quoting somebody else's speculation. This is actually from Airbnb, provided to the SEC. And that's the information we're looking at. And I think that that's important information to have, because it's hard when you're just taking somebody else's opinion, whether it be from the Wall Street Journal or Bloomberg, as your main source of information. I like to see actually what's going on with the financials behind the scenes. Like always, please browse the channel and subscribe. I'll catch you next video.